can no longer remember it is even there, but it is still there. Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Sooner or later, that debt is paid.
1. It is a small match set into a body of trees when no one was in need of firewood. One day, someone may try to tell you that the fact that you saw no shockwave or mushroom cloud or heard screaming is proof that nothing is burning. Do not let somebody lie to you in this way. Sometimes it's a slow bleed. Doesn't really hit you like a bomb or a wave. Sometimes it's not when the plant explodes. Some say Chernobyl's AZ-5 was not a failure of rods, but of tongues. Sometimes it is passive, and it is barbed, histrionic, and it sinks in deep, makes you lose count so that you stop trusting how it all adds up, and you can't remember if it's a new cut or old bruise, and we're not sure whose blood that is. Someone says, must have come from when you fell, but you don't exactly remember falling. It's not lost or running or explicit in its violence. It's you staring at something, confused as it claims it cares about the subtleties, talks about calling things what they are, but those things never seem to answer to the names it gives them, spends a lot of time talking about what is finite, cut short on what seems like will stay. It is subtle, an impassable asterisk. The rhetoric is slow and it laps, always has a reason why it can't be pinned down, but always knows why the pigeon fits in the hole, how to get rope through a needle, talks about bringing in, but you can't tell if it's a place you want to enter, only a match. Inconspicuous, easy to lose track of in the mix of things, but a match amongst trees, returning to the wood that bore it, using the elements that gave it its life against them. Conflagration. An unshakable feeling that it looks like all of the other cinder, but goes branch by branch, stays just small enough for no one to notice, hides itself under the shirt, back of the head, hard to prove it's something anyone did, but you still can't recall falling, can't recall making the first swing. It's like a rock that skims itself across the water, mistaking that the simple properties of a piece of earth in and of itself speaks to what it does to all that surrounds it. But a stone that never gets wet is not good for sharpening, bounce far but never weighs anything. Its trajectory maintained only by our hands doesn't anchor, shifts its weight according to the waters. A hammer, though still a hammer, set alone in the middle of a pile of wood, does not build a house. Still a tool, still nowhere to sit down. 2. It is a flame whose extinguishing is ignored because of its insignificance, but really because of fear. The passiveness. It talks a lot about how it knows you, but it does very little in the way of getting to, always points itself out in the memories, but you can't find it in the pictures, doesn't speak about how there's always tomorrow, doesn't take into account the thing tomorrow becomes when it comes. It keeps its mouth shut with the reasoning that the next time it might be easier to speak up. It can take a long time to digest what you swallow. When you swallow so much, we're saying we have hope, but really just that it all goes away at the time we tell ourselves. It's smooth, frictionless, how the iron does not spark. When we look back, it would seem we may find we were just trying to numb it. There is someone standing at the edge of the water with bruises on their shins. It still is mounting and builds up. The hammer is going to hit something, grip it tighter out of the anxiety of swinging, despite it pushing pieces of wood down deep into us. The blood boils when the lid's on. The heat, it spills it over, gets onto everything, including the pot, and trying to preserve the flesh we burn it up. There is always time later to do the dishes until it's time to do the dishes. If you push enough to the side, you start to run out of places for things to be out of sight. You run out of ways to ignore it, and the dirt piles up between the planks. More and more, no one notices it until it starts pushing the wood out of place. No one notices it until it's their room with uneven spaces. We all ignore the splinters. Even though our hands, they are aching, we tell ourselves throwing a match out into the hallway is what being the light is. Tell ourselves closing our door to the rest of the house will stop the flames from consuming us, as if walking away unscathed is the same as being absolved of the blame. It is sitting in your room trying to convince yourself that it's just warm in the house, that the heat is not coming for you.